Ben Proud has joined the Enhanced Games. Has this completely tarnished his legacy of winning a medal at every single major competition for Aquatics GB? Well, time that we discuss all. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. I'm not going to call it a bonus or a special episode of the podcast, but it's a topic that we thought we had to jump on straight away, and that is that Ben Proud, the all-conquering Aquatics GB, or formerly Aquatics GB sprinter, has announced that he's retiring from the traditional format of swimming to take up a role in Enhanced Games in what is, simply putting, the most shocking news that I think me and Dan could have ever, in our wildest of dreams, have imagined this year in the world of British swimming.
Yes, so this is happening on a Wednesday. We're recording on a Wednesday. I finish relatively late on a Wednesday. I get home at 6, half 6, something like that. And Scott's been messaging me all day saying, "Have you seen the news?" I'm like, what? We're recording now. The time is roughly about 8:30. And I'm still coming to terms with what actually happened. You know, Ben Proud's our best sprinter ever. And we very vocally said on this podcast we're very much against doping in any kind of way, fashion. I think a lot of GB swimmers follow that same suit as well. Yeah. Your Adam Peaseys, your GB guys. And then the news of Ben now effectively doping to be involved in Enhanced Games. Still coming to terms with it, and I'm going to try my very best in this podcast to get my thoughts across here. But we'll start with what Ben said. I think that might be the best way to go about it at the start of this episode.
Yeah, so let's start with what Ben said. And before I get into it, you said doping. I do want to say that Ben's already come out and said, I'm not under any obligation to take anything. So he's just competing in the Enhanced Games, albeit the whole premise of the Enhanced Games is to see how fast you can swim with PEDs in your system.
It's all assumptions at the moment, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a few statements flying out there. So the first one I want to read to everyone is from Ben Proud's Instagram himself, his retirement post, let's say. So for 15 years, swimming has defined me. It has shaped my decisions, my sacrifices, and the direction of my life. Every move I made, where I lived, how I trained, what I gave up, was in the pursuit of being the best version of myself in the pool and proving I am capable on the world stage. That journey has given me incredible moments, Olympic finals, world titles, memories and experiences I'll carry for life. But more than results, it gave me a skill, something fragile, rare and hard-earned, a skill that in 5 to 10 years I may no longer have the privilege to perform at this level. I am in a fortunate position to be able to capitalize on what I can do in the water and pursue something unique that excites me in a new way. For the first time in a very long time, I'm making the decision not for swimming, but for myself. I've reached a point where I feel deeply satisfied with everything I have achieved in my career. My heart is full of contentment, and I know I'm ready to move on and embrace something new. That is why I will be retiring from traditional sports to compete in the Enhanced Games. This is not the end of my journey, it's the beginning of a new chapter. There's lots to take away from that, Dan. And as we jump into kind of dissecting all of this news, I do want to, if you're new to this podcast, if you're just coming here to hear about our thoughts and opinions of this news, I just want to let you know Propulsion Swimming Podcast is primarily a British podcast. We've got ears on the ground in Britain. I think we've got quite a touch on what the community in this country is feeling about this. We've got quite a big social audience as well. We've had like 300-400 messages literally about this afternoon. And we've brushed shoulders with Ben on a poolside for a number of years in the mixed zone at major competitions as well, and he is genuinely one of the nicest guys to meet on a poolside, which is why this news has come as quite a shock, because it's against everything that Aquatics GB, swimming in this country, before I thought Ben stood for as well.
Well, he's just I consider him one of the most professional swimmers, athletes this country's ever produced. And it's still, again, very baffling because he's almost the last person I think, or would have thought, who would have done this. No, obviously he's got something in his mind that he's got to go and do this, because I think he said in that post that he said on Instagram just then that it's a new chapter and stepping away from traditional swimming to the Enhanced Games. I don't know how much different it is. Apart
Yeah,
from
that's my question.
I don't know what's the
apart from
difference
taking
exactly?
the drugs, there's no different
Yeah.
format. It's not like ISL's come around and done jackpot points and all of stuff like that and
Yeah,
changed
he's
it. You're
still
still
doing
swimming
one length of the
50
pool.
meters.
Yeah. So from that point of view, I don't know what actually changes. The only thing I can think of here, that's obviously
The
the
science.
selling point. It's the money that comes with it if you break the world record. So the money's not guaranteed for him. He has to
We
actually
don't know
break
that.
the world
We
record.
don't know that.
Depends what's in the contract. So I know he signed a contract, so he might get a wage of some form, a salary. I don't know. But obviously the prize pot is to try and break the world record, which has been broken, hasn't it? So I don't know if that's lost its luster a little bit. I don't know if someone
Maybe.
breaking it twice changes it. But yes, yeah.
Okay, there's a few other things. Like he spoke to BBC Sport, obviously, before this announcement came out, and it's now live. It's the lead story on BBC Sport. So around the world, that is the biggest platform for sports news in the UK. And in his interview, he said, it's something I think I can excel at. It's come at a time of my career where I'm satisfied, I'm happy, I'm ready to step away. For me, the biggest takeaway from this is I think Ben Proud was walking away from the sport of swimming before LA anyway.
Possibly.
Possibly. And maybe this came calling and made it an easier decision.
I mean, we already have had Laura Stevens retire, and usually retirements happen at the start of an Olympic cycle. I suppose we're a year in, which is, I guess, kind of weird in a way. You see like a huge amount of retirements happen. We haven't really had that across the world, actually, after Paris,
No.
which I thought was quite interesting. And maybe you're right. Maybe this is almost a good excuse to actually retire now rather than wait another year. Maybe he wanted to go to commies next year. Now can't do that, obviously, because he's effectively banned because he's taken part in the enhanced games. So maybe he was going to retire. That is a theory, I suppose. Only he would know, obviously, or his team. But, yeah.
Yeah, another thing he said to BBC is, this is the best opportunity I have. For me, the way he's talking here is that this is his final payday in the sport of swimming. He thinks this is what sets him up for life. I'm presuming. And for me, that's quite a damning thing to say on the sport of swimming as a whole. This is a man who's done absolutely everything you can do in a swimming pool. He's won medals at every single major competition. He got the final one at the Olympic Games last year. He is one of the nicest blokes outside of the pool. We've already said that. And I don't want to get too... And to be frank, he looks like he does as well. He looks like a Greek god on a swimming pool. And to me, he should be one of, if not the most marketable people in the world of swimming, or like especially in British swimming. He should be this pin-up poster guy for the sport. And it's just never happened for another reason. But maybe him saying, this is the way I earn my money for setting me up for life, is something that actually we need to look in the mirror at and go, well, if financially this is why he has tarnished his legacy here. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of people who,
In a lot of people's minds, I don't know about his.
maybe
So,
not,
like,
maybe
'cause,
not.
like,
in a
his-
lot
in
of
his
people's
post,
minds,
He's kind of said that I'm doing this for me rather than anyone else.
I get that, and I get him being selfish in this situation, and we'll discuss financially if this is the reason that he's doing this. But I guess from the other side of things, being selfish in this situation kind of goes against his whole career so far and the whole ethos of being a swimmer. Because to be a successful Olympic swimmer, to be a competitive Olympic swimmer, you have to be clean. You have to be against performance enhancing drugs. Like the whole premise of being an Olympian, in a way, goes against these morals and this movement of the enhanced games. And I think you could argue that potentially what he's done in being selfish in this situation is hugely damaging for clean sport, in a way.
I just wonder how long this opportunity has been calling. Because I would have thought after winning that Olympic medal last year in
It's been
Paris...
knocking since then.
Well, I don't know, because you've completed everything. like he said, he's won every medal at every major competition. He's completed swimming effectively, maybe just missing the gold at Olympics. But, he's got a medal, losing to Cam McElroy, who's, no slouch to lose to, obviously. But, I just wonder, has it been in the works for a year? I don't know how long these contracts are. Maybe he was contemplating it for a year. Very interesting.
We don't know those things.
Not sure. We'll never know, unfortunately. But,
and he's also said to BBC, all I've had is positive feedback. And I can open up our DM. I'm not going to open them directly, but I can say our DMs on Instagram would say otherwise, to put it frank. And a lot of them, like, don't get me wrong, there has been positive feedback. So, like, if we look at pros and cons of what's been going on in our messages all day, the pros, of which there are some, no one should stand in the way of him taking a paycheck. And what is, I presume, a fairly big paycheck. It's his last chance to earn any money in the sport. Maybe it shows an issue with GB funding. Good for him, bad for the sport of swimming. These are like the comments that we're getting, the responses from the general public. But then, for the most part, the negativity is coming from parents, from people who have idolized him in the sport of swimming. So we've had so many messages from parents of young swimmers saying, how do I even approach this with my child, who is a 10-year-old swimmer, who's idolized Ben Proud, wants to be the next fastest man in Britain? How do we even explain this situation to them? Why do we have to explain this situation to them? You would never, I don't think, in fact, I'm pretty firm in saying this, I don't think you'd ever see like a Phelps do this. I think it completely tarnishes what people think of you as a swimmer because of what this stands for.
I think that's the way I would feel about it. Being a teacher and being involved in kids who all have role models, they want to be the next Ronaldo, Messi, LeBron James, whoever. When they have someone like Ben Proud, like you say, he is a Greek god on the pool side, he's the fastest man in Britain, people look up to him, they're going to be disappointed. And then how do you get these parents to then explain to these kids, oh yeah, you're never going to see him again in a traditional setting at British Champs or whatever else, because he's gone to another thing that's frowned upon at the moment. Whether that will change, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be frowned upon in the future. Maybe it becomes the next best thing. I don't know. But it's a very much a different entity. And then going back to your pros that you were saying earlier,
it's all financial.
I can actually understand it. Like, yeah, he's got a chance to get a payday. Again, we don't know the ins and outs, but we know what the prize money is if he breaks the world record. But it is kind of damning on the sport of swimming that he's having to go overseas enhanced games to actually make some money, which is probably the biggest, one of the biggest takeaways for me anyway. So it's good for him, like one of the comments said, but it's actually bad for the sports because it's highlighting a real issue.
Why is swimming the first, from what I can see, the first sport that the enhanced games is going after for its publicity stunts, for its world records beating? It's not going after cyclists. It's not going after athletics. Yeah. Stuff like that. And maybe this is where we go, you know what? If we can be bought the cheapest sport in the world, that's what we look like, in my opinion. Swimming looks like the cheapest sport in the world because we are the first ones that can be bought. The whole structure of swimming has to change. We have to become commercial. We have to become marketable. And that we've discussed this off the air literally the other day. Yep. That starts with a team aspect. Put it frank. You can't keep a sport alive with just splits and times. Carl Sockwell came out and said it. Until we have a team aspect where there's more layers for media to discuss, for commercial partners to get involved in, swimming will not survive, and we will continue to be the cheapest sport in the world. There's many sports.
I think athletics are struggling as well, if I'm honest. I know they have the Diamond League and they are ahead of us.
They've got
they are ahead of us, but I do think they're struggling. Sports that are time-based are really finding it hard. They really are. Because, of course, let's say Premier League football, let's say Liverpool right now, theoretically they're supposed to win every game. They're not going to win every game.
But we can discuss week on, week out.
Exactly. It's the perks of a league system, and you're not going to be at the best you can be the whole time. I think the biggest comparison I can see, because I'm a boxing fan, and like very recently we had Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Now Mike Tyson should have been retired long ago, but he's been priced in to go and fight this, effectively a YouTuber. And so it looks like it tarnishes Mike Tyson's legacy. But I just wonder, like, people are going to forget about that. Mike Tyson's made, I don't know, let's say 10, 20, 15 million, something from that fight, just to have an easy payday. No, I'm not saying it's an easy payday for Ben here, but it's just a way to get money that isn't always going to be coming your way. That's the way I can kind of compare it without actually saying the drug sign. It's just a principle thing, I think.
That's the thing.
The caveat.
The comparison works, and you actually look at it and go, you know what, Mike Tyson's legacy in the sport of boxing is fine, because you can look past this stunt and this publicity stunt, and everyone will remember the golden eras. Yeah. I don't know, because Ben Proud is now associated himself with
drugs,
a legalized doping league or games. I still can't quite get my head around what enhanced games are doing and how what it achieves.
Sustainable. I don't know how it's sustainable. I'm not quite sure. What's the next step?
It just feels like a publicity stunt for a pharmaceutical company, to be honest with you. It just looks like a publicity stunt of, look what we can achieve in a lab. And I don't quite get where that ties into sport just yet. Maybe it will in the future. But I don't know, unlike your comparison with boxing, where Tyson's legacy is solid, I don't know that people will ever get over this and look past it and look back at what Ben Proud has done in the swimming pool, because I followed Ben Proud's career from the very, very start, and it was a privilege to be able to get Propulsion Swimming to where it is now, that I can share a poolside with him. I can watch what he's doing. I can speak to him on a poolside, and the way he used to chat in media zones was the most highly intelligent swimmer and like craftsman in the sport of swimming. And for me now, I don't quite know what to say. To be honest, I don't quite know how I feel about it, because I hate what performance enhancing drugs and what enhancing games stands for. And this is a man who's inspired so many swimmers in this country, and yet the example he's now shown, I actually think this is the simplest form of what he's done. He's shown that there is a route where performance-enhancing drugs can be part of a swimmer's career. I think that's the worry. That is the real worry, is that some people will see the enhanced games as a pathway for them. And I'm really trying to take my personal opinions of Ben, which I'm sure a lot of coaches who've rubbed shoulders with him are going to be having the same, and a lot of even teammates are going to be having the same dilemma, like moral dilemma, that I just can't condone any part of this from a role model side of things. Like how he has meant to, and how he has inspired generations, and where they go from here. Man, is horrible, to be honest. It's a tough mental battle that so many swimmers are now gonna have. Maybe it isn't hard. Maybe it is as simple as, look, you've taken, or you're going to be taking part and promoting performance enhancing drugs. You're gone. It's the Aquatics GB, their firm statement. Maybe that is the best route, because everything that an enhanced game stands for makes me feel sick. It's why we've not actually talked about enhanced games at all on the Propulsion Swimming podcast, even when like James Magnuson did what he did, or even when the world record got broken. We didn't talk about it because it was just a game. Like, I couldn't physically put into words or justify giving it any sort of promotion at all. And then one of the most inspiring Brits has done it, which is why we've had to have this podcast, and ask the hard questions of, well, if you're in Ben's shoes, why would you have done it? We're trying to be balanced and fair here, and maybe trying not to share too many of our personal opinions of it. But performance enhancing drugs, yeah, obviously we're against that. We promote the sport of swimming. It's dilemmas all around the country now, I think.
Well, he said he's very against, as I think most athletes should and are, that he's against using drugs or PEDs in your traditional setting, but he's now open to doing it in a different section of the sport, if you like. But
if this was just a retirement post, we could be happy about it, and then he showed up at Enhanced Games. It's because the Enhanced Games has caused the retirement post. It's not quite a it's a very jarring retirement.
Yeah, it depends whether he was always going to retire and this was an excuse like we did right at the very beginning, I suppose. But it's not the news that I think everyone wanted, especially British swimming fans. I think world fans, actually, if I'm perfectly honest.
I thought he was the guy to take down Cam McAvoy.
He was on his way. I mean, he was getting quicker and quicker, as is Cam. In fact, they all are. Let's say Jack Alexi's catching as well. And I don't know. All I can think of, he's done this because the money is hard to turn down. And everyone has their price at the end of the day.
We're assuming.
Assuming, obviously. But
unless he is genuinely scientifically interested in what he can push his body to, which he could be. I said it to my wife earlier about the Enhanced Games, and I explained it to her. She's not a swimmer. She doesn't follow sports. She doesn't overly like sports. I don't get to watch it in the house too much. She is a scientist. She did biology. She did chemistry. She did all of that at university level. She worked in labs. She understood the attraction of seeing how far you can push a human body. She got that aspect of it. I don't get that aspect of it because I like sports. But if you literally just treated this as Ben Proud has retired from the sport of swimming, well done, clap, 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 congratulations, what you did in the swimming pool. Now he's going to be a science lab rat and it's got nothing to do with the sport of swimming anymore. Fine. But I think it does have something to do with the sport of swimming, and the overlap is there in it.
You say that. The face of the Enhanced Games was James Magnussen. And even then, he was retired for X amount of years, and he still sort of looked like he's tarnished his legacy after winning what he won.
I know.
So I don't know if that sort of
bigger
point of view is
question. I think we could discuss and hypothesize about why Ben has chosen this moment for a very long time. We probably will between ourselves in the long future. Let us know in the comment section on YouTube if you've got any thoughts, positive or negative. I know our Instagram has been absolutely filled since we shared the news of this and since Ben did. Long-term picture, Aquatics GB's worse for not having Ben Proud as part of it, to be frank. It's going to take some digesting for future squads, future previews, future reviews of major competitions not to be discussing Ben. But that's that at the end of the day. He's gone, he's done, and Aquatics GB sent out a firm statement that says, bye Ben.
Yeah.
Essentially washing their hands of him.
Yeah, which is a shame because he was one of our best chances of medals. Like the world's just gone, he was 50% of our medals.
Yeah,
and he's now gone, I suppose. Even though, like, getting close to retirement, he's in the sort of twilight years. But I generally thought he might have gone to LA as a one last chance of winning that gold. That's what I thought.
Same.
Wrong, obviously, now because he won't ever be able to do that. But it's a shame. But I get it. I can see everyone's point of view. I can see why everyone is annoyed by it and disappointed. But at the same time, I can see from his personal point of view, it's a paycheck at the end of the day for him. And
we think
I could be wrong. We just don't know. That's just it. We're assuming. So yeah.
I'm kind of with you. I do think the legacy is tarnished. I really am heartbroken for parents who are having to explain to their kids what their role model is doing. That's a really, really tough conversation, and the messages we've had, I don't know how to approach that. Luckily, my son is only 2 years old. He hasn't idolized Ben. I don't have to have that conversation, but there are people out there who are tonight having hard conversations with their kids because
unfortunately.
of this. We're not making that up. They genuinely are. And we genuinely have had those messages of how on earth do we approach this, which is sad. It's really, really sad at the end of the day.
I don't know how do coaches say this to their age group swimmers as well? And how do you then say, because you can't say this is right or wrong because they've got their own opinions, I suppose. it's very difficult.
I would have thought if you're competing in the world of swimming and you're trying to make it as a competitive swimmer, anything to do with PEDs is wrong.
Yes, I would assume so. But then they will always question, well, Ben Proud's doing it. And you go, then what do you say? I'd love to, not love. I would hate to be in that position. And I don't know how coaches, parents are dealing with it at the moment.
Good luck. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, that just about rounds up this episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. We actually had another episode recorded for this week, but we'll bump it till next week, where we discuss the 10 best ever swims of all time. Much more positive note. And me and Dan will see you guys in 7 days' time.
You've been listening to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast with Scott and Dan. We want to thank you for joining us and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as checking out the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel for weekly tutorials and videos to get your swimming fix. We will be back next week. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.